Most people are one bad day away from completely falling apart. One insult, one setback, one moment of pressure, and they lose control. You know why? Because they've never trained their mind. They've trained their body, their career, their image, but not their mind. And in this world, if your mind isn't a weapon, you're a target. Emotions are powerful forces. They can drive us to succeed or lead us straight to destruction. But the biggest mistake most people make is allowing their emotions to take the wheel. They feel angry and they lash out. They feel fear and they freeze. They feel hurt and they quit. That's how the average person lives. Ruled by emotion, reacting to every situation like a puppet on strings. If you want to rise above average, if you want to control your outcomes in life, you have to stop being ruled by emotion and start using it as a weapon. Emotions are not your master. They are tools. And tools are meant to be used strategically. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to sit in a storm of emotion and remain unmoved. It's knowing you're angry, but still speaking with precision. It's feeling fear and moving forward anyway. It's the ultimate form of power, because in that moment, when everything inside you is screaming and you still maintain control, you are untouchable. The man who can feel but not flinch is the most dangerous man in any room. That kind of control isn't natural. It comes from training, repetition, conscious effort, and a ruthless commitment to never letting weakness win. People think being emotional makes them real, makes them honest. That's a lie. Being emotional makes you sloppy. It clouds your judgment. It makes you unpredictable, and not in a good way. It makes you manipulable. Because once people know what buttons to press, they own you. They can set you off, make you spiral, throw you off your game. That's not strength. That's submission. That's giving your power away to every problem, every critic, every inconvenience. You can't afford that. You can't afford to be a slave to your own mind. Start paying attention to the moments you lose control. When someone cuts you off in traffic and your blood boils. When someone insults you and you take it personally. When life doesn't go your way and you throw a tantrum, even if it's just in your head. That's where your training begins. Not in the perfect situations where everything feels right, but in the mess, the discomfort, the irritation. You breathe, you pause, you ask yourself one thing. What is the strongest move I can make right now? Not the loudest, not the most emotional, the strongest. That question alone shifts your brain from reaction mode to strategy mode. Being calm doesn't mean being soft. It means being calculated. It means you choose your moment, you choose your response, and you never let the situation choose it for you. Emotional control is self-mastery, and once you master yourself, no one can master you. Emotions are tools: anger, fear, pride, ambition, all of them. But tools in the hands of a fool are weapons turned inward. Learn to hold them with discipline and they become power in its purest form. Train your mind until it listens to you, not the world. That's when you stop being a victim of chaos and start becoming the one who shapes it. Chaos isn't going anywhere. People spend their entire lives trying to control the outside world, relationships, traffic, the economy, their boss, their partner, their environment. They think if everything around them becomes peaceful, then they can finally feel calm. That's a fantasy. It's a delusion. The reality is simple. The world is chaos by default. It's unpredictable, unfair, ruthless, and fast. Things will go wrong. People will betray you. Plans will fall apart. Pressure will come when you least expect it. And if your peace depends on everything going your way, you'll never be calm. You'll be constantly chasing something you can't hold on to. That's weakness disguised as hope. You need to understand one thing. Control is internal, not external. That's not just some motivational quote. It's a tactical mindset. When everything around you is unstable, the only thing you can count on is your ability to regulate your own response. You don't control the market crashing, you don't control people flaking on you, you don't control your competitor making a dirty move or the weather ruining your plan, but you absolutely control how you respond to it, and your response is what shapes your future. The difference between the man who breaks under pressure and the one who thrives in it is never the situation, it's the mindset. When you make peace with the fact that chaos is part of life, you stop resisting it. And once you stop resisting it, you start preparing for it. You stop waiting for peace to come from the outside and you start building it inside. Every day becomes a test. When pressure shows up, you don't ask, why is this happening to me? You say, good, let's see how I perform now. That shift in perspective is deadly to weakness. Most people get softer when life gets harder. You do the opposite. You become more composed, more precise. You slow down when others speed up. That's what calm looks like in a storm. You have to expect things to go wrong and still stay on point. That's the real discipline. Not just the workouts, not just the grind, but the mental reset when life blindsides you. You could lose money, lose people, lose opportunities. But when your mind is trained, when it's sharp and still, you see the openings. You move like a sniper, not a madman. That's what separates the ones who survive from the ones who dominate. Most people are soft because they've never trained their mind to function in disorder. They live under the illusion that someday things will settle down. That illusion is the enemy. The earlier you accept that life is a fight and chaos is a constant, the sooner you'll realize you have one job: become the calm in the storm, not the fool getting tossed around by it. Discipline is the weapon that separates the weak from the strong and the calm from the chaotic. People today are ruled by how they feel. If they feel tired, they rest. If they feel stressed, they break. If they don't feel motivated, they do nothing. That's a broken system. That's a mindset built to lose. Because life doesn't reward mood. It rewards consistency. And if you only act when it feels good, you'll never build anything real. The calm mind isn't born from comfort. It's built through discipline. Doing what must be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment, is the foundation of mental control. Calmness doesn't just show up in the middle of pressure. It's built long before the moment comes. Every time you choose to follow through on your word, you build internal strength. Every time you push through when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or exhausting, you're reinforcing control over your mind. That control stacks up. It becomes the armor you wear when the world starts throwing punches. And when others break under pressure, you stay steady, not because you're special, but because you've trained your mind to obey discipline, not emotion. There's a lie that being true to yourself means doing what you feel. That's a trap. Your feelings are temporary. They shift with sleep, with food, with temperature, with opinions. If your life is directed by something that unstable, you'll be spinning in circles. Discipline is what grounds you. It's what holds you in place. When everything else is pulling you in 100 directions, you don't wake up and ask, do I feel like being calm today? You decide no matter what comes, I respond with clarity. That's power. That's control. That's how winners operate. You won't feel calm when pressure hits if all you've done is train your emotions to dictate your actions. You'll panic like everyone else. But if you've lived with discipline, waking up early, showing up when it's hard, speaking with intention, training your body, holding your mind to standards, then pressure doesn't shake you. You've already lived through hard things. You've already done the uncomfortable. So when chaos comes, you don't flinch. You're familiar with discomfort. You've lived in it. You've turned it into a training ground. People think calmness is a gift, some personality trait you're born with. It's not. It's a result. It's earned. And it's earned by choosing discipline over mood again and again. Discipline is not just about doing tasks. It's about sharpening your identity. When your identity becomes that of someone who does what needs to be done, regardless of emotion, you stop getting rattled by temporary storms. Your foundation is too solid to be shaken by weak triggers. It's easy to act right when everything feels right. That's not impressive. What's impressive is showing up with calm, with focus, with strength when your mind is screaming to quit. That's real control. That's how calmness becomes your default, not your wish. It's not a switch you flip, it's a standard you build, brick by brick through daily ruthless discipline. When you react without thinking, you hand over your power. That's what most people do. They get triggered, they explode, they make impulsive decisions, and then they regret it. They live in a cycle of reaction, never once stopping to ask whether the reaction serves them. That's weakness in disguise. You think it's strength to clap back, to yell, to lash out. It's not. It's the exact opposite. True strength is measured in restraint, in control, in being able to feel every emotion and still respond with precision. The man who reacts is predictable. The man who responds is dangerous. Reactions are instant. They're emotional. They bypass thought and go straight into action. And 9 times out of 10, they're wrong. They make you say things you didn't mean, take actions you didn't plan, and burn bridges you didn't want to lose. You become a puppet for every insult, every inconvenience, every burst of stress. That's no way to live. That's mental slavery. When you respond instead of react, you insert power between stimulus and action. You take the hit, but you don't swing back blindly. You pause, you assess, you calculate. That pause is everything. In that pause, you decide who you are. Are you just another hothead running on emotion, or are you composed enough to control your own narrative? The ones who win under pressure are not the ones who move first. They're the ones who move best. Reaction is sloppy, response is surgical. People respect the one who stays calm when disrespected. The one who doesn't rise to bait, the one who looks chaos in the face and blinks slowly. That's intimidating because it shows you're not controlled by the situation. You control the situation. Most people don't get this. They think silence is weakness. They think not reacting is soft, but silence is a strategy. Composure is a weapon, and calmness under fire is the highest level of power. Every time you react without thinking, you pay a price. You damage relationships. You make poor decisions. You create messes you later have to clean up. But when you respond, you control outcomes. You move on your terms. You make choices that align with your goals, not your moods. That's how leaders operate. That's how killers think. That's how dominance is built. Training yourself to stop reacting isn't easy. It means unlearning years of emotional conditioning. It means shutting your mouth when you want to explode. It means keeping your face still when your pride is under attack. It means disciplining your mind to sit in discomfort and not act until the right move is clear. But every time you succeed at that, you level up. You move from being someone who gets pushed around by life to someone who steers it. You stop being the product of chaos and become the one who profits from it. Mental toughness doesn't just appear when things get hard. It's built long before that moment ever arrives. You don't suddenly become calm under pressure if your entire life has been lived in comfort and softness. The mind, like the body, must be trained. It must be exposed to discomfort, to stress, to silence, to pain, and taught to stay still. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They want convenience, ease, and pleasure. Then when life hits them with pressure, they collapse. They've never put themselves through anything real, so when reality strikes, they break. Calmness under pressure is not a talent. It's a skill developed through intentional hardship. Every uncomfortable situation is an opportunity to train. Most people think struggle is something to avoid. Winners see it as a tool. When you willingly put yourself in uncomfortable environments, whether it's a freezing cold shower, a hard physical workout, brutal honesty with yourself, or sitting in complete silence with no distractions, you're conditioning your mind to stop running. You're training it to stay composed in the middle of stress. That kind of discipline creates calmness. Because your brain learns that discomfort isn't death. It's just part of the game. Mental toughness comes from repetition. The more times you force yourself to do something difficult, the less emotional you become about difficulty. The more times you sit in silence instead of reacting, the more control you build. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being unmoved. The average person is reactive because their mind has never been tested. They get overwhelmed easily. They complain, they whine, they look for escape. But a trained mind doesn't flinch. It doesn't panic. It locks in. It analyzes. It adapts. That's where calmness is born, not from avoiding pressure, but from facing it head on until your mind adapts to it. Look at fighters. Look at soldiers. Look at anyone who performs under extreme stress. They don't get there by accident. Their calmness is a result of thousands of repetitions under controlled stress. The pressure doesn't disappear, it becomes familiar. That's the key. If you live a soft life, the first sign of pressure feels like the end of the world. But if you live a life of intentional resistance, you become hardened. And when real chaos shows up, you don't react like a civilian. You act like a warrior. You've trained for this. You don't need a crisis to build mental toughness. You can train it right now. Get uncomfortable on purpose. Push when you don't want to. Sit in silence when your brain craves distraction. Wake up early, lift heavy, fast. Face the truth. Stop running from stress and start walking toward it, because that's where the growth is. Every uncomfortable choice you make is a deposit into your mental bank. And when life demands calmness, you withdraw from that account. Those who never train never have anything to pull from. They crack. But those who train their minds to endure discomfort on demand walk into pressure with steady hands and clear eyes. Calmness is not just a mindset, it's a competitive advantage. In a world where everyone is loud, reactive, impulsive, and emotionally fragile, the person who remains calm stands out. The one who doesn't panic, doesn't overreact, doesn't fold under pressure, becomes the person others look to for leadership, for guidance, for strength. Calmness gives you an edge because it allows you to think clearly when others are lost in chaos. While they're busy making mistakes, misreading situations, and burning energy, you're observing, calculating, and positioning yourself to win. That's the difference between emotional noise and strategic silence. When chaos hits, whether it's in business, relationships, conflict, or life in general, most people default to emotion. They get aggressive or anxious, they complain, they freeze. That's what the majority does. That's predictable, that's exploitable, but when you're calm, you become unpredictable. You're not driven by panic, you're not distracted by what's urgent, you focus on what matters. And that makes you lethal in any environment because you see what they miss. Calmness sharpens your perception. It gives you the upper hand because you're thinking 3 moves ahead while everyone else is trying to catch their breath. There's a reason high-level operators, elite athletes, and top performers focus on staying calm under stress. It's not because they're naturally relaxed. It's because they understand that emotional control is the foundation of performance. You cannot perform at your highest level when you're emotionally hijacked. You can't make the right decisions when your mind is racing, when you're panicking, when you're driven by ego or fear. Calmness gives you the space to operate with precision. It gives you the ability to detach, to assess without bias, and to act based on logic, not emotion. In negotiation, calmness is power. The person who stays silent the longest usually wins. In conflict, calmness is intimidation. The person who doesn't raise their voice, who doesn't flinch, immediately takes control of the room. In adversity, calmness is confidence. It tells the world you've been here before. You're not shaken, you're not desperate. And that energy is magnetic. People follow calm leadership. They listen to calm authority. They trust calm presence. That's why calmness is not weakness. It's dominance wrapped in control. Most people think they need to do more, say more, react more to prove themselves. That's insecurity. Real strength is quiet. Real dominance doesn't need to shout. When you're calm, your presence alone speaks volumes. You walk into a room and people feel it. Not because you're loud, but because you're grounded. Calmness signals that you know who you are, you're not easily moved, and you're ready to take over, not fit in. That kind of presence can't be faked. It's built through repeated exposure to pressure, through discipline, through training your mind to stay still when everything else is spinning. When calmness becomes your natural state, you become dangerous. Because in a world of noise, silence is not just peace, it's power. In a world that thrives on chaos, noise, and emotional outbursts, the man who remains calm holds the ultimate advantage. Calmness is not passivity, it's precision. It's not weakness, it's controlled power. When you stop reacting to life and start responding with discipline, you become untouchable. You stop being a slave to emotions, circumstances, and other people's opinions. You operate with clarity, strategy, and strength. You don't fold under pressure, you use it. You don't fear chaos, you thrive in it. Because you've trained your mind to obey you, not the noise around you. And once you master that, the game changes. Not just for a moment, for life. Train your mind to be calm in every situation. And there's nothing this world can throw at you that you won't be ready for.